Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. My name is Connor. So today I am going to be talking about the rising of the phoenix and rebirth and transformation and all things beautiful when it comes to that. So when it comes to rebirth and a spiritual awakening, right? Sometimes it can be really scary. Sometimes we don't want to go through the dark night of the soul because we start to realize that everything that we thought to be of truth and who we were and are is not actually real. And it has to be destructed and broke down and torn apart, and there's going to be so many different hills and valleys and rings of fire we have to jump through, and we know that, especially when we go through an awakening and realizing who we are and our mission and why we're here. But before we get to that point, like I said, we have to go through that dark night. And depending on your past traumas, from your past lives, even from this life, and just your childhood, past relationships, any kind of scars and wounds emotionally, mentally, energetically, those have to be healed and those have to be faced. And it's a difficult thing to come to terms with sometimes. So what eventually ends up happening, these people who have these difficult, hard, trying life paths and these life journeys that they have to go through and endure, that they picked because it's in your DNA and in your soul blueprint. Before you incarnated here, you picked your life. So you knew that you were going to be going through all of these challenges for the sole purpose of soul growth. So at the end of this, what happens is, I'm so passionate about this because it touches a special place in my heart because of what I personally went through and the transformation that took place within me. And so basically a phoenix being born from its own ashes is someone who goes through very difficult times, and they always feel like they can't keep their head above water. They're constantly fighting against the current, and things don't always, it always kind of seems like they're getting cheated, or just while everyone else kind of seems to have it easy going, there's always something fighting against us, if that makes sense. No victim here, no victimhood, but I'm just trying to explain that that's kind of in that moment in the past, that's how it felt. So when you have this awakening and this realization that you are in the deep pits of hell, and that you have to go through the belly of the dragon, that's what I like to call it. You don't want to go through that belly of the dragon because you know how hard it's going to be. You can see the journey that you have ahead of you, and it's terrifying. It's scary. But a phoenix, someone who's meant to go through this spiritual awakening and this basically unbecoming process of all that you thought you were, is complete. It's destructed and it falls apart. But you allow it to fall apart because it's meant to. And you realize that it's a part of the renewal process and the rebirth and the transformation that you are about to embark on. And that is necessary for your soul growth and for you to get on the other side of that mountain, get through the belly of the dragon, whatever analogy you want to use. So in this destruction is this immense, divine, limitless power. It's infinite power of energy and awareness, consciousness, and pretty much you, At that point, you're so out of alignment with your true essence, and all your chakras are so blocked, and all your energy is so off whack and off balance, that what your body is doing is it's wanting to fight for its life. You're in fight or flight mode, you're in survival mode. And when you hit that dark night, that pit, because you have to reach the pits of hell to reach the heights of the heavens. Best way I can explain it. But your body is wanting to fight back at that point. It's wanting to fight to survive. And in that moment, you realize that there's immense power in the destruction that's happening. Okay, and when this is happening, it's important to realize that it's not something to run from. It's not something to hide from, and that it's a part of the process, and it has to happen in order for the rebirth to happen. Because, okay, so what has to happen before something can be born again or rebirthed? It has to die, right? So you have to basically shed your old skin, release all of who you thought you were, and let that go, let that pass, let that die, so that you can rebuild yourself and be born again from the ashes that burned you to the ground pretty much over the course of your difficult journey, if that makes sense. So this is a beautiful process. I love talking about the phoenix rising from the ashes, because I can relate to this. And with my personal experience, reflecting back on it and how far I've come, it's given me so much hope for others, and to be able to share my wisdom and my knowledge and my experience, and to be able to touch people and be open and authentic and vulnerable, because this is a very intimate, soulful, divine experience that is, it can be so many emotions within one. It can be terrifying, it can be uncertain, it can be exciting and nerve-wracking. And when you don't know much about what you're going into, which is the belly of the dragon, you're like, okay, I'm just gonna dive in and see what happens. And that's the best way to go about it. Don't question what's happening. You've gotten yourself to where you are right now. You fought this hard. You're gonna get through the belly of the dragon. You're gonna get through your dark night of the soul, and you're going to get through your Kundalini awakening, or your whatever process you're in as far as your ascension goes. You're gonna get through it. If you have to take it one day at a time, 1 hour at a time, journal. Make sure you're writing everything down. Just putting it on paper gets it off your chest, kind of makes it so that your mind's not so crowded and flooded with all of these thoughts. And make sure that you don't allow yourself to go into the rabbit hole, because the rabbit hole is not fun. Make sure that you're engaging in very healthy meditation, chakra healing, any kind of sauna, kind of detoxing your body, anything that's going to be beneficial with you. So also, when you're going through this rebirth, don't fight against anything. Listen to your higher self. If you have these bad habits that your higher mind is telling you have to go, it's not a part of who you are anymore, listen to it, because you're prolonging the process, and you're making it much more difficult for yourself if you're not listening. So smoking cigarettes, for instance, let that go. If they start to taste nasty, or even alcohol, if you have been drinking too much and your higher mind's telling you it's time to let that habit go, or it's an addiction, this is all part of the rebirth process, because you're basically letting your old self die, and which with that comes old habits, old ways of thinking, people who want to bog you down and want to see you fail, cut them out of your life. You can go no contact with people. You are in the driver's seat. You are the sailor of your own ship. No one has the right to tell you what you can and cannot do and who can and cannot be in your life. So it's important to remember your power and to embody that and to realize that you are the phoenix. After everything that you've been through, reflecting back on your life story, and you've seen all these struggles, remembering everything that you've been through and seeing how far you've come. And all these ashes are at the bottom, right? And you're pretty much down to your feet. Everything's burned to a crisp. The destruction, the power that's in that destruction is so infinite and powerful and divine, and the spark. When that happens, when your feet is the last thing to go, you're going to skyrocket pretty much. And that's when the rebirth is going to happen and the renewal. And pretty much, like I said, in order for something to be reborn again, it must die. So don't hold on to any aspects of yourself that are no longer serving you, is no longer a part of who you are. You have to let that go. And it's okay to grieve. You can grieve that. You can miss that. But you also need to stay aware, self-aware, and mindful, and understand and see kind of from a bird's eye view or a higher mind's perspective or elevated perspective what is happening and why it's happening, and that it's happening for your best interest and for your best benefit as a soul, as a being, to evolve and prosper and to become your best, highest self, right? You've been through these horrible, I can't speak for everyone, but when you're a phoenix rising from the ashes, you've been through hell and back about 100 times more over and over again. So someone with the easiest life is not a phoenix rising from the ashes. It's someone who has had trial after trial after trial after falling down the mountain over and over and over and over and over, and being held underwater, and not literally, but you know what I'm saying, like just feeling like you cannot get ahead and you cannot catch a break, and you're constantly feeling, you felt like you just have the odds stacked against you, you know, but you keep fighting, you keep going, and you keep fighting. And once you hit that dark night of the soul, because you're especially, it's the purest people, these made of infinite light and love, who seem to be the ones who get the short end of the stick. So when you hit the dark night and you decide, okay, now I have my work cut out for me, and I've made it this far and I can do it. You seek knowledge, you seek guidance, you seek education, you read your books, you do your, you seek out your soul tribe, and you find your people, and you fight to live. And when I say fight to live, yes, I mean physically, but I also mean soulfully. You fight against that darkness, because that's what's happening, is that there's no light without darkness. So when that happens, is you face your shadow. And when we face our shadow, you have to do all of that healing. You have to do all of that unbecoming process and peel away everything that you're not, right? And to wake up and realize that a lot of it's not true. The world, everything we've been taught is a lie, and everything that has been bestowed upon you is not who you truly are. And you know, it's overwhelming. It can be very scary and intimidating. And as someone who has never been through an awakening and has never been through an ascension process and doesn't know much about Kundalini or chakras or energy healing or quantum field of energy or manipulation of energy, stuff like that, it can be very intimidating to someone. So yeah, I just wanted to kind of go through that with you guys, because a lot of you are going to be feeling that powerful energy of your rise and your ascension and your coming out of that darkness and unlocking your chakras and connecting back to source. And this kind of goes back to mythological times and the phoenix representing the destruction of power or the power of destruction, I'm sorry, and the just the infinite, limitless potential you can tap into within that divine spark once that happens. So I hope this was beneficial. I know someone had recommended that I do the Phoenix Rising from the Ashes and my take on it. And I know that everyone with this mass awakening with humanity, higher levels of consciousness are being, we're coming into the second, we've already happened, the second coming of Christ has already happened. The rapture's already happened. I wanted to make this video because it was something that I wanted to touch on, and I love it when I get that feedback from you guys on videos that I can do, topics I can touch on and talk about. And it gives me something to kind of focus on, because I have so much I'd love to talk about, and I know that I kind of have to break it up into these little videos. So I plan to be here to serve and to guide with my wisdom and my knowledge as best as I possibly can, as always. And I hope you all have a great night, and I will see you in my next video.